Okay, so here's where we were. Let's refresh here. I ran out of time and I'm not sure where it stopped. Okay, we're supposed to find the exact value of sine of negative 870 degrees. I understand that in this case, you probably did it on your calculator and you got negative a half. That will work sometimes, guys, but sometimes it won't. I want you to understand how to do this, okay, without the calculator. So I drew negative 870 degrees. That's, oopsies, I wanted that in blue. That's negative 360. Another negative 360 is 720. And then another, well, that would be to get me here. Negative, where was I? 720. So another negative 150 degrees gets me here. Here's negative 870 degrees. The reference angle is what's left to get me up to the x-axis. Okay, my reference angle is here. Theta is 870, negative 870, I'm sorry. Theta is negative 870 degrees. The reference angle is this. So they're asking us to go a little bit further and figure out an angle between 0 and 360 that is coterminal with negative 870. So that would be, that's where this red part came. That would be just right here. 210 degrees would get me there. Okay. So the reference angle for 210 is 30 degrees. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. The amount of angle that is here, regardless of direction or where it is. Just what's this angle? 30 degrees. Okay. So I know the sine of 30 degrees. It's a half. All right. However, well, I'm sorry. I'm going ahead of my steps. We found the reference angle is 30 degrees. Then you find the trigonometric values for the reference angle. Okay, so for example, we're asking sine. Maybe sometimes they want cosine, tangent, whatever trig function they want. We find the sine of that. Got it, a half. But we're not done. Because then we have to think about, wait, is it a half or negative a half? So we have to determine the correct signs, S-I-G-N-S, not S-I-N-E, okay, correct signs for the values, okay? So since I'm in quadrant 3, I know sine is negative down there, right? The y coordinate is negative in quadrant 3. So my answer is negative a half. And yes, go ahead. Your calculator will confirm that we did all this correctly. All right, if we're lucky and it ends up being, just a non-repeating, non-terminating decimal, then, or a terminating decimal, then we're great. If it ends up being non-repeating, non-terminating, like an irrational number, then we're not going to get the exact value, and that's what they're going to want. Okay, so I hope you understand this process. Find all values between 0 and 360 such that the cosine of theta is negative a half. What's cosine? The x-coordinate? So I know I'm over here in the second and third quadrants. That's where x is negative. Okay? Now, cosine of what is a half? I can look over at my little table, okay, that I'm supposed to be getting memorized, and I see that that's 60 degrees. Okay? That's not my answer, because the cosine of 60 is positive a half. We want negative a half. So I have to think about the angles, this angle and this angle, that have reference angles of 60 degrees, yet are in the second and third quadrants. Okay, so the blue angle, this theta, is 60 degrees up from 180. Okay, so that would be 120 degrees. This angle is 60 degrees more than 180, right? I went 180 and then 60 degrees more. What's that, 240? Okay, those are the angles such that if I take the cosine of them, I get -1/2. Okay, let's check it out on our calculator. Let me pull my calculator up if I can. Okay, sorry, I didn't have it ready. You guys can check. We just said that the cosine, I'm at school obviously, the cosine of 120. Wait, let me make sure I'm in degrees. Okay, I just hit my mode. I better make sure I'm in degrees. Okay, so the cosine of 120, yeah, it's -1/2. I also think the cosine of 240 is -1/2. Let's see if it is. Cosine of 240, I should close my friends, but I'm not gonna. -1/2. Okay? So we were correct. All right. Okay, so the answers are 120 and 240. Oops, sorry. All right. So here we're gonna try to evaluate these expressions, simplify your answers, including any radicals. Okay, so anyway, sine squared of 240. Well, I have to think about the reference angle for 240. We just saw it, right? It's 60 degrees. Here's 240. That was 60 more than 180. Okay, so I realize sine is what? Negative in the third quadrant? Okay, so sine of 240 is negative square root of 3/2. I'm going to square that. Okay, is that all right? Think about 270. Ooh, that's a quadrangle angle. 270, I don't have to do any reference angle for that. The cosine, that's the x-coordinate that goes with any point on here, so that's 0. And the tangent of 60. I think we saw that the tangent of 60 on our other paper was square root of 3. Okay, so I have 3/4 minus 0 plus 3. The final answer is 3 3/4, or 3.75. Okay, so I needed a reference angle to help me with 240. 270 was a quadrangle angle, I already knew. And 60 is one of my special angles that we have the table for. Okay, let's try this one. 45 degrees, that's square root of 2/2. Oh, secant of 120. That'll be 1 over the cosine of 120, right? So let me figure out the cosine of 120. Here's 120 degrees. That's 60 degrees away from 180. So I'm going to use 60 degrees as my reference angle. So that's, oh, but I do have to be careful too. I'm in the second quadrant, so since I'm squaring it, I don't have to worry a lot, but this would be 1 over 1/2, right? Isn't that 2? 1 over -1/2, so it's -2. I'm going to square that. Okay, cosecant is 1 over the sine of 225. Okay, so I'm going to think about where the sine of 225 is. Let's see, 225 minus 180. So I'm 45 degrees more than 180. So I need to figure out the sine of 45, which I know is square root of 2/2. Okay, it's negative that though, right? Because sine is negative in the third quadrant. So cosecant of 225 is 1 over the sine of 225. So that's going to be 2 over the square root of 2, negative of that, and I'll square that. This gives me 2/4 plus 4 minus 4/2. So I get a half plus 4 minus 2. 4.5 minus 2, that gives me 2.5. Just how to do some algebra with that. Let's see if this is true or false. Can I distribute the sign through? In other words, what would this be? 30 plus 150. Does the sine of 180 equal the sine of 30 plus the sine of 150? I'm just curious if that would work. Okay, so 30 plus 150 is 180. The sine of 180 degrees is 0. The sine of 30 is a half. The sine of 150, which is 30 degrees away, right? Isn't that 30 degrees away from 180? Okay, so the sine of 150, would that be positive a half? Yeah, it's not negative a half, is it? Because the y coordinate is positive there. Does 0 equal 1? Nope. This answer was false. And we'll learn that in another section, that you can't actually just distribute the sign through. Okay? That's the end of 2-2. Sorry I couldn't do it in one video. I got chatty. All right, so good luck on the homework, and I'll see you in class.